Some days on the calendar just seem to hold a little more weight than others. Not because of some big battle or a fancy coronation, but because of an idea. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one single golden day in the history of math that honestly changed everything. April 9th. On its own, it's just another box on the calendar, right? But in the story of mathematics, it turns out this day is a huge deal. It's a date that echoes across time. So take a look at this. On this one day, April 9th, separated by decades, even centuries, three absolutely brilliant minds either entered the world or left it. We're going to explore each of their stories, and by the end, I promise we'll uncover the really surprising thread that connects them all. Okay, so our first story kicks off with a question that you and I probably take for granted every single day. How is our technology so impossibly fast? Seriously, how can the phone in your pocket perform billions of operations in the time it takes you to blink?
Well, the answer, or at least a huge piece of it, takes us all the way back to April 9th, 1919. That's the day a true computer pioneer was born, a guy named Presper Eckert Jr. This was Eckert's baby, which he co-invented, the ENIAC. And as you can see, this thing was an absolute beast. It was 24 meters long, powered by 18,000 vacuum tubes. This wasn't just another machine, it was a revolution. It could pull off 5,000 additions per second, a speed that was just totally mind-blowing back then. This was it. This was the birth of high-speed electronic computing.
So the next time you're just casually scrolling on your smartphone, take a second and remember its granddaddy. That tiny, super powerful device in your pocket descended from a literal room-sized giant, all because one person figured out how to find order and incredible speed in the chaos of calculation.
All right, let's hop back to our April 9th timeline. We've seen how Eckert built the future, but what about, describing the very fabric of the universe? For that, we need to jump even further back in time, all the way to 1869. This brings us to a much deeper kind of mystery. Physics gives us the rules for our universe, from the teeniest particle to the biggest galaxy. But what language are those rules written in? It's not English or French, it's the pure language of math. The real question is, who invents that language? And that brings us to another April 9th birthday, Élie Cartan. He was a French mathematician who became one of the great architects of the math we use today.
Now, one of Cartan's most mind-bending discoveries was something called spinors. Okay, I know, it sounds super complex, but imagine trying to describe the surface of a globe using only flat pieces of paper. You need a really special kind of language to make that work, right? Well, that's kind of what spinors do for the quantum world. They're the special mathematical language you need to describe the weird and wonderful properties of things like electrons.
Just think about that for a second. Before scientists like Einstein could fully write down their theories about the universe, someone had to first invent the mathematical grammar for them to even use. Cartan was that person. He literally created the language that let them write the story of spacetime.
So, one date, two incredible stories. Let's make one last jump on our timeline. We're sticking with April 9th, but now we're zooming forward to the year 1971. Our final story is about a totally different kind of discovery. We're not talking about a new machine or a new theory, but about finding old wisdom. How do we find those brilliant ideas from the past that have just been lost to time? And this brings us to Adolphe Rome, a Belgian historian of mathematics who passed away on, you guessed it, April 9th, 1971. And this guy was, in every sense of the word, a mathematical detective. Rome's entire life was basically a treasure hunt through history. He spent his days buried in ancient Greek texts on math and astronomy. And his big moment, his greatest discovery, happened in a library in Florence. He stumbled upon a manuscript that had parts of Ptolemy's Almagest. These were texts that scholars were sure had been lost forever. And he didn't just find it, he brought it back to life, publishing modern versions and rescuing priceless knowledge from the dustbin of history. Rome's work shows us this whole other side of genius. It's such a powerful reminder that progress isn't always about inventing something brand new. Sometimes it's about rediscovering the brilliant ideas that we left behind. So here they are, all three of them together on our April 9th timeline. A man who built the future, a man who described the universe, and a man who rescued the past. Three totally different fields from three different centuries. So what's the deal? A computer pioneer, a master of geometry, and a historical detective. What in the world could they possibly have in common? What's the thread that ties their incredible work together?
Well, a common thread is actually pretty simple, but it's also incredibly profound. It was a shared, relentless curiosity to find a hidden pattern inside the chaos. Eckert found patterns in calculation to create speed. Cartan found patterns in geometry to describe the universe. And Rome found patterns in history to reclaim lost wisdom. At their core, they were all pattern finders.
And that leaves us with one final and I think pretty inspiring thought. Our world is still full of chaos, right? It's full of unanswered questions and hidden structures. So what patterns are just out there waiting to be seen? And who's going to be the one to find them?